Arthur Blank joins us on the WadeForward.com hotline, and he has been out at the owners' meetings. And Arthur Blank, it is always a pleasure to have you on. I know it's been busy last few days. I want to start, Arthur, with just where you're at with the offseason so far and free agency. We were very active. We had money to spend, and Terry and our front office did, I thought, a really good job of that. What was your assessment of the free agents we picked up?
I think it's the first time. Well, let me go back. I mean, I've been an owner for 21 years now, and this is really the first time in my 21 years we've gone into free agency with a significant amount of resources. In fact, this year was double the amount that we've ever had in the past, the most we've ever had in the past. So I think the decisions they've made, both on the defensive side of the ball, on the offensive side of the ball, I think have been excellent. I think they fit the vision that both Coach Smith and Terry have laid out, going back now, 3 years now, going into our third year. And I think their depth, their quality, their starters. I mean, and I think the ability to extend our own, like our right guard, Chris Lindstrom, who's been an outstanding player for us, and too often in the past we've seen our players that we've drafted, that we've recruited or brought to us, et cetera, and coached them to the levels that they were at, and then we didn't have the ability, the resources, the salary cap resources to keep them, and now we do. And so, one of the great signs of organizations in the NFL and probably other organizations as well is that, you want to be able to, take care of your own children. You want to be able to make sure that you can keep them. And I think we're in a position to do that because not only cap this year, but looking at the projected cap for next year, we're kind of guessing what that might be, but, we're going to be in a very good position again. And we have, eight picks coming this year in the draft. So
right.
I like where we are.
No, we said, Arthur, it's kind of like for the first time and forever, we're not upside down on the car loan. And not that you've ever been upside down on a car loan other than maybe the early days of Home Depot when you were starting it up.
Yeah. It's very true. You're right about that. Yeah.
It's Arthur Blank with us.
It's a funny thing. Yeah. Both Bernie and I, when we moved to Atlanta, but Bernie Marcus, my partner, moved to Atlanta in 1978, 79, started Home Depot here in Atlanta. But, we both had to borrow the money required to place the down payment on our homes at that time. I had actually borrowed from my mother, may she rest in peace. But and Bernie borrowed from some member in his family. I don't remember where. So times have changed. Yes.
Now we got money to spend, and your confidence. I mean, I know I asked you back during Super Bowl week if you're getting involved in the process. You're letting Fontenot and Arthur pick all the groceries.
Yeah, I'm letting Coach and Terry pick all the groceries. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've never gone to the grocery store to select groceries. I mean, I just, with these guys, whether it be Coach Smith or Terry Fontenot or Rich McKay or any of the coaches, great coaches we've had before, GMs or whatever. I mean, what they've forgotten, I will never know. So, it's my job is to hire the best people that we can, make sure they have all the resources, make sure they have the right environment, make sure they understand our culture fully, and stand back and be their support system, and that's my job. And so I think we've got a great group of young leaders in Terry and Coach Smith, and I think that Rich has been very helpful. I mean, as good as Arthur has been as a head coach, he's still new at this, and I think that Rich, given his background experience in the NFL and what have you, I think has been very helpful to the coach and to Terry as well, giving them some guidance as well as support and all the years of wisdom that he's acquired.
Falcons owner Arthur Blank joining us here on Dukes and Bell. Arthur, I've got to ask this for the fan base because I think we have a fractured fan base when it comes to this Lamar Jackson situation, because we know our organization was in on Deshaun Watson last year. And a lot of people are saying, well, why wouldn't we necessarily be in on this Lamar Jackson situation? And I saw where you just spoke with our buddy Josh Kendall from The Athletic talking about Lamar. Yep. People want to know, are you interested?
Well, I would say that, anytime you have a player of that stature that comes, to the free agency market, I think every team or I wouldn't say every team, but I would say pretty much most teams would certainly look at Lamar as an opportunity. I think we look at our situation. We've come out of an era where 25% and heading to north of that was going to be tied up with one player, and that as I said earlier in the broadcast, is that put us in a position where we couldn't do two things. We couldn't build out and build up our roster across the board, not only in depth, but also for frontline starters. And, it's having a quarterback that can play competitively is critical. But so it is, you have to have a good defense. You have to have a competitive offense, et cetera, be able to move the ball and stop the ball, et cetera. So I think, part of our recognition was that we had a lot of work, to do in that regard. I think probably most importantly for us is that, we drafted this young man, Desmond Ridder, last year in the third round, and I think he's continued to show everything that we expected of him, and maybe beyond that, to the point that Coach Smith and the staff, and including Terry and Rich, we all feel comfortable that he should be our starter going into this next year. And we've got a really good young backup, Taylor Heineke, who lives in Atlanta and drive to work in 7 minutes, and is a really qualified backup to support Desmond as well, and that makes a lot of sense for us. And we want to be able to sign our own and to be able to be active in free agency across the board, and continue to draft well. And then when players are ready to consider free agency, we want to make sure that they stay at home. We want to be able to keep them at home if that's our decision. So there's a lot that goes into whether one player like a Lamar, who is an excellent player and the MVP of the league, et cetera, whether he's the right person for us or not, it's a decision. There's a lot of factors that really go into it, but we love where we are. We love where we are with our roster, with the changes we've made this year. I think our team has been competitive the last 2 years. I expect us definitely to compete for the division championship this year, and beyond that. I've made that clear, and I think the coach and Terry both would agree with that as well.
Arthur Blank's with us here, guys, on Dukes and Bell. And just to follow up with Carl's question, I know because we were in the mix a year ago for Deshaun Watson, and this is a player that's an MVP. As an owner, is it more about the guaranteed money, or are you more concerned about the injury history that would make you not want to be in business with him?
Well, I don't think. I mean, I think those are two factors. But the factor is that he's been a great player. He's made a huge difference in the case of the Ravens. I think the issue of whether or not that contract would be competitive in today's environment, I don't know. There's only one fully guaranteed contract in the history of the NFL, and this last year was signed by Watson. Whether that's going to become a trend or an influence going forward, I really don't know. I think, the owners don't really talk to each other about that. We talk to each other about a lot of things, but, there's not any discussion about, what's the structure of a contract and, what's happening in the league. Guaranteed money, since I've become an owner in 2001, has definitely gone up. I mean, it's significantly grown both in dollars and a percentage of the total compensation. So, that probably is going to be a trend. We'll see more of whether or not we'll reach a fully guaranteed position or not on quarterbacks or other positions. I really don't know. But we'll see. We're going to be competitive in the marketplace, and our fans need to know that we will continue to push the salary cap to the top level that we can. We'll provide all resources to make sure we have the best team that we put on the field, and make sure we have the best facilities and coaching staff and all the things that are not part of the cap but are important in creating the right kind of culture, environment, and winning. All those things we don't have limits on.
Arthur, you say that you guys as owners don't really discuss these things. I'm just curious where you're at. How do you feel about guaranteed contracts?
Well, it's not. I wouldn't say it's not. The issue is not whether the contract's guaranteed. There's so many complexities to a contract that's signed with the player. It's the size of the contract, the length of the contract, what portions of the contract are fully guaranteed, and how is it paid out, and whether there's bonuses involved, and so there's many factors that go into a competitive contract. Having some portion of it, all of it fully guaranteed is obviously a factor. And what I would say to our team here in Atlanta, and I would say to you, our fans, is that we will make sure that we always are in a position to be fully competitive in terms of any contract discussions we have with any players. We understand the marketplace is changing, and we understand, the realities. The players are our partners; they truly are, and we want to make sure that they're very well compensated and treated the way they should be treated. And the fans should have the assurance that we're going to do whatever we have to do, whatever we can do, and have to do to put the most competitive team on the field we can.
It's Arthur Blank with us, guys, the owner of the Falcons. We know, Arthur, that you want to win as bad as any fan out there listening. We just got to get it done.
That's true.
5 years now since we've been in the playoffs. Do you have a set of specific expectations for the team this year?
Well, I don't put a quota on winning, but I certainly put a quota on improvements, and I think that the team has been, very competitive the last couple of years. The year before last, we didn't bounce out of the playoff run until the last game of the year against the Bills, and that game we almost won. This last year we were very competitive as well. Given the plan that Terry and Arthur had at the outset, the transition going through this, and with the transition without Matt, and hopefully Matt will, well, whatever. We have a great relationship with Matt and love him certainly. But we're in a position now that I think our team is definitely ready to compete at the highest level. So I love the steps that they've taken. It's not a free fall. It was very thoughtful, very methodical, making the right decisions, showing the right kind of disciplines, making the right kind of analysis of players and how they fit into the coach's system, not just Coach Smith, but all the coaches. And we have a new defensive coordinator who's got a great track record from New Orleans, and we certainly used to, having to play against him in his games, and they've been excellent. So when we were able to recruit a couple of players actually from the Saints this last year. So I love where we are. Fans should know we will not leave any door unopened, any stone unturned, and whatever the expression is, to make sure that we are competitive this year, even more competitive than we've been in the last 2 years. And I fully expect that. I fully expect it. Coach understands that. Terry understands that. And certainly Rich McKay understands that as well.
Arthur, I want to ask you about Mercedes-Benz because we're very proud of our facilities that we have here. It's world-class. But I want to ask you, with what you were just talking about with Matt, and we went on this incredible 15-year run with Matt. We're in this transition to figure out, hey, our next big, move at quarterback, it's a quarterback league. What is your confidence in Ridder? What you saw in those 4 games at the end of the season, how confident are you, and what do you feel?
I think it's a really good question, but I think my opinion is really secondary to what the coaches feel and say. But my own view, you're asking me my view as an educated fan, is that he had a growthful year last year, developed a great deal since we drafted him, learned a lot, and I think when he had an opportunity to play in 4 successive games in a row, that he showed the kind of progress that we saw with him. We saw with him in camp and practices and OTAs and every other setting we could. Every reason to think that he will continue to grow and be very competitive for us this year. I think if that was not the case, I think our attitude could be different. But our attitude is that we drafted a young guy that played 50 games in college, won 44 out of 50 at a very high level. Played on big stages, had a win at a conference level, et cetera. And he just continued to perform at a very high level. So we're very optimistic about Ridder. Feel very good about the choice.
All right, I'll put you on the spot. As a fan, you want to draft offense or defense coming up next month?
I think in some part, I think it depends on where we end up in the draft. Right now, we're picking number 8. That doesn't mean that 8 will be where we'll stand. We may end up, moving up, moving back. I mean, it's a lot of dynamics that take place during draft day. The coaches have not finished. Coaches and personnel have not finished the final stacking of their draft choices. I think it's clearer that we have some more holes to fill on defense than we do on offense. Our offensive line, we took care of our right guard last year. Lindstrom, who's certainly one of the best guards in the league. By the way, that's very important to our fan base to understand that in the past we haven't had the salary cap to actually kind of keep our own children in the house, if you will. As a result, we've lost some really talented players because not because we don't have the money, we don't have the cap dollars. And not having the cap dollars means we have to let some people go. We're not in that position now. We continue to sign our own players, and that's really important in building our franchise. So if you look at our offensive line, we signed the right tackle again. We've got the young emerging talent at running back, and we feel good about the receiver group that we have. Doesn't mean we can't add some more help there, but we picked up some really good receivers. I think the young man from Vegas, Hollins, is going to be a really good player for us. But there's still some holes, I think, and I think generally fans would say probably a few more holes on defense, more help on defense than on offense, and I would probably say that is going to be somewhat true, but there's good players needed at a whole variety of positions, so we'll see how the draft shakes out.
Right. Arthur, this is where we pat you on the back because you guys have done an amazing job with Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's Arthur Blank, owner of our Atlanta Falcons here on Dukes and Bell. The first stadium in the world to achieve true zero waste over the course of a year. You're talking about 32,000 hours to clear every event. You're talking about, 1.78 million pounds of compost produced. That's as heavy as, 2.5 Empire State Buildings. Produced, the food donated, all the things that have happened at Mercedes-Benz. And I just want you to comment because it's truly an honor, right? The first stadium in the world to achieve this?
It is. And we did that in the environment. We were also the NFL tracks the fan experience in all of our stadiums for every single game, whether it be safety, food, beverage, just every the environment in the stadium, halftime entertainment, et cetera. And for the first time in my 21 years, we were voted number one by the NFL in terms of the experience that our fans are experiencing. And that obviously that's the NFL, but that translates to Major League Soccer. It translates to concerts and any other events we have in the stadium. Get back to your point about the success we've had from a sustainability, environmental standpoint. I mean that's terribly important, and it's really interesting is that you hear more and more about decisions that our younger generation, younger population, our children are often making about organizations they want to be affiliated with, clothing they want to wear, places they want to go. Do those people have a value set that say that, planet Earth is part of our responsibility, is to keep it, is to maintain it, to make sure it's going to be there for future generations as well. And so, we are especially proud to be part of that effort. And the fact that our stadium received that platinum certification in 2017 when we first opened up the stadium is remarkable. And we get this, clean certification now, zero waste certification now, is just an extension of that. We designed the building for that. We're operating the building for that, and we want to be a role model, just like we've been for food and beverage, and how the quality of the product we offer, the pricing, the values, et cetera. So we need to continue to, reflect, great experience in the stadium, and also a set of values that our fans feel are really important. So whether it be in terms of diversity, whether it be in terms of, employment opportunities, whether it be how we operate our facility, how we treat people, et cetera, all that, is not in place of winning, which is important, but it's also part of the reason that fans feel the way they do about our stadium and the experience when they come to the stadium.
Great job, Arthur. And thank you again for spending time with us on this show. You know how we feel about
It's
you.
We love our fan base. And I've said this so many times publicly, probably all our fans have heard it. I remind our players periodically when I have a chance to do it that without our fan base, we have 22 young men, talented, well-being, et cetera, but they're playing sandlot ball. They're just playing against each other. Our fan base is what, provides the life and the activation for our players, for our league, and whatever, whether it be coming to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, watching the games on TV, wearing our products, all the digital social screenings that they're involved in, and our platforms that we speak to our fans on. So all of that means a great deal to us, and we really can't thank our fan base enough and often enough in terms of all the support that we get from them. So that's a message from me to all of our folks. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Arthur.
I also want to just take one more second and thank you all. And 92.9 has been a partner and a great friend to us since I acquired the team in 2001. And your ability to, you have relationships with our coach and our general manager and players and what have you. And you guys have always been, been very astute. You're critical where you should be and asking the tough questions like you have today with me. And, you do that, but you're also very accurate in your reporting. And we appreciate everything that you've done for us.
Arthur,
and for the fan base that listens. So,
right. You know this. We want to win as bad as you do.
Yeah.
That's what it comes
We're
down
fans.
to.
At the end of the day, we're paying customers too. You're right.
All right, man. We got to let you go. Appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of the owners' meetings. Thanks again, Arthur.
Okay. Thank you. Take care. Have a good day.
All right.
Cool.
Bye.
Cool. A lot of folks reacting. Our text line going bananas. The comments about interest in Lamar Jackson and feeling expectations for this season. We'll talk about it.